Let's hear it for Aaron and the home team. So every Father's Day, or at least the last 3 Father's Day, I have asked some of the men in the community to speak about fatherhood and their fathers. And I think that it would be great if we could also hear from some of the members of our community about mothers. And so so I've asked 3 people this morning, and I want to thank them. So we're going to begin in a moment with Tina Gilbert, and then Aidan Dona will be following her. And I thought it would be good to have a guy's perspective on motherhood, and someone young. So he's in our YOU group. And Aidan grew up in the church. For those of you who've been around for a while, know that he's worked down in the kitchen and he's served brunch to you many, many times. So we're looking forward to hearing his words of wisdom. And then Monique Lowe will also be speaking. So join me this morning in welcoming Tina Gilbert.
Good morning. I was wondering, I saw that we were getting into my slides a little bit. There we go. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. This is my first Mother's Day with my daughter, Louisa, 8 years ago. So, for those of you who know me, I am a social worker. And so one of my superheroes, and a lot of our superheroes, even if you're not a social worker, is Brene Brown. So, love my Brene Brown. And so, as I was preparing for this talk, I was going through a bunch of her quotes, and then I came across one that you might not remember, and it's from her Sweaty Creatives talk that she gave. And so I thought this was a good lead. She led with it. Might as well lead with it too. So, perspiration from fear, from cold sweat, the stuff that pops up on the eyebrows because we're talking about something we care about. So that's my warning. If I look like I'm taking a shower up here, that's why, because I really care about motherhood. This is my favorite holiday. This is my favorite holiday because I earn it every day, as do all you other moms. At first, when Karen asked me to give this talk, I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. In my 20s, I honestly wasn't sure I wanted to bring a child into this world. I think that was my awakening, my feminist awakening, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to bring a child into the world. And then in my 40s, when I did want a child, I wasn't sure I was going to be having a child. And thankfully I did, at 45. Yes, I'm an older mom. So leading up to this talk, I was doing my brainstorming, my research, my TED Talks, and I was sure that all these little snippets of paper that I was leading around the house, we were going to put that light bulb on, and I was going to hit that keyboard or write longhand, and that was going to take me through. But then 2 things happened. 2 viruses hit the household. Yep, last Sunday, Louisa spiked 103 fever, and then it would go down, and then it would go back up, and she had no symptoms. That's even more worrisome. There was no vomiting, no snotty nose, nothing. And so we got a diagnosis. It was fine. She's good. But then it became very clear that my writing days were going to be flushed down the toilet. She was supposed to be in school on Monday and Tuesday. Now, I don't mean to sound heartless. I had a diagnosis. She was getting better. But those were my writing days for this talk. I was very nervous. So then I was pulling all these pieces of paper together, and these pieces of paper were not propelling me forward like I thought they would. And I also was not getting any alone time. So, in desperation, while she's still home, I locked myself in the bathroom. Yeah, we've all been there, right? And I can hear her breathing on the other side of the door. I'm like, Louisa, I'm going potty. Uh-huh. Okay, Louisa, I'm going number 2. That's the only way you can get your kid out, because number 1, she'll come down and sit and have a chat with me, right? So I said, Louisa, take 5 steps away. No, I said, Louisa, go away from the door. And I heard, She went to her bedroom door. I said, "You took 5 steps. I can still hear you breathing." So there was no writing that happened in the bathroom. I did get to do a few deep breaths. And Lou continued to follow me around. So motherhood has a whole new level of perfectionism that I thought I would not be part of. Before I was a mom, I noticed that other moms judging other moms, other parents judging other parents. And I realized when I became a mother that actually those other people were not going to be my judging Judy. They were not going to be the person who was most critical of me. That person who was most critical of me is me. So the perfectionism that I had, I wanted this talk to be perfect, and then life was doing what it was doing. It was being messy. And my vision of parenthood wasn't what I thought. I'm not the mom I quite wanted to be. And while I was leading with empathy-led principles, there was something that I've been doing a lot that has me crawling under that boulder of shame. I was losing my temper. This past year, I think has probably been the worst for losing my temper. Maybe it's because I have higher expectations now that my daughter's a second grader. Or maybe, I don't know, there's meditation, prayer. I'm not gonna go down that path with you, but I'm telling you, it's not pretty. And when I climb under that rock of shame, it is so heavy, and I've done it over and over again. My mom, I don't have any of these slides up here. Can we go forward a little bit past this one? There's my mom. My mom and Louisa shared the same birthday, January 9. And then the next slide, please. That's me with my sisters. I'm the one who's all disheveled looking. I think by the time I was ready and the last one was ready, you know how it is. You know, I've gotten messy and stuff. So my mom, we're all within 5 years. 4 daughters within 5 years. In fact, starting on Monday, my sister and I are the same age till June 3rd on my birthday. My mom was alone with us a lot. And she yelled a lot. And I promised I was never going to do that. She couldn't cope, but I was going to cope. Guess what? I don't sometimes. I really don't. But the difference between my poor mom and me is that I use my daughter to help me climb out of that rock. So what I do when I lose my temper, and my daughter is very good at saying, "Mommy, breathe, deep breaths, Mommy." And she does it like I did with her when she was 3. She does the raising her arms up and down, and I do that. And I talk to her. I talk to her about what was going on inside of me in that moment when I lost my temper. And I tell her that I made a mistake, and that I hope I won't make that mistake again, but I probably will, just a little bit different. And we sit there and we talk and we breathe deeply, and then she says, "Mommy, I love you. I make mistakes too." Another Brené Brown quote, "The most powerful teaching moments are the ones you screwed up." Yeah? So when I screw up, instead of hiding, my daughter deep breathes with me. I assure her I love her. I promise her I'll do my best. And I show her that vulnerability. And that vulnerability, I hope she will carry with her for the rest of her life, because I want her to know, there she is, where she's wearing her tiara today too. I want her to know that to be vulnerable is the most courageous thing that she can do. Long before Brené Brown, I was constantly telling people this when I would put myself out there, but I'm really glad that Brené Brown has made it popular. To be vulnerable is to be the most courageous person that you can be. And I'm so grateful that I'm a mom and I have that opportunity every time I mess up. Thank you.
And now welcome Aiden Dona.
Good morning, everyone. I'm actually joined today with my mom and my grandma downstairs making you an amazing brunch. So be grateful for that, as I am. I'm going to start off by saying the first thing you need to do every day is be grateful for your moms, and your moms need to be grateful for their moms, and so on, because they are everything to you. They will be there forever. They won't go away, even when they're gone. I appreciate my mom and my grandma so much. They do everything for me. They let me do what I want for my whole life, and they've been there for me. They let me be who I want to be, and do what I want to do. My grandma is really helpful, and she's always been for her whole life. That's how I get to church all the time, until I started driving, of course. So I live far away from here, Whidbey Island, so that's kind of a journey. So I can thank my grandma for that. They've taught me a lot over my life, how to treat people, how to, they judge people, I judge people, we all do it, everyone does it, but you gotta love people unconditionally, either way, and they've taught me that. I've been in unity my whole life, and that's because of them. Since I was born, actually before I was born, my mom and grandma were here with me downstairs. And then as I aged, a baby sitting on the counter down in the kitchen while they were cooking. And they talk about that all the time. And I helped, every Sunday, right, my whole life. And so they've been there for me all the time, and I love them a lot. They're everything to me. I live with my mom, just my mom, and my grandma sometimes, and she's off and does her own things over here in the city. She comes to live with us every once in a while, so it's always great to see her. Just be grateful for your moms. Be grateful. I'm not always, and that's a problem, but I try. Yeah, this morning. On Mother's Day too, and I'm sorry. I love you, Mom. They're actually up here in the balcony. That's my mom, my grandma. So you can be as thankful to them as I am. Yeah, thank you.
And now welcome Monique Lowe.
When I was asked to speak, my first thought was, okay, what do I want to say? For myself, I know I always tell people that I have the gift of brevity. I'm short, sweet, and right to the point. And so when I put this together, I had it in 3 different parts. What motherhood is in general, my experience, and then I finish it with a quote by someone I admire. So I'm going to just start off with the first part. And it was a global meaning of motherhood. The global meaning of motherhood. The meaning of being a mother is virtually endless. A mother is a protector, disciplinarian, and a friend. A mother is selfless, a loving human who must sacrifice many of their wants and needs for the wants and needs of their children. A mother works hard to make sure that children are equipped with knowledge, skills, abilities to make it as a competent human being. Being a mother is perhaps the hardest, most rewarding job a woman will ever experience. And today I want to talk about my mother. People know her as Jerry, but her full name is Geraldine, which I think was immortalized by Flip Wilson, if anyone knows who I mean by that. So that I aged myself by saying that one. So I want to talk about my mom, Jerry. She raised my sister and I, and as a single parent, she's creative, artistic, and a natural-born healer who is forever ageless. And so I wrote down, I call it my kind of a poem, but it's short and sweet, and it's called Thank You. It says, thank you for nourishing me as a child and with natural foods. Tofu and I are like this. Thank you for buying cute dollies so I could cut their hair and pretend I was the best hairdresser in the world. Thank you for eating my cooking as a child and smiling as you did it. Thank you for braiding my hair as a child and making me look pretty. Thank you for breaking out into a dance when a good Motown song is launched. Thank you for teaching me how to drive despite being in the car when I did a 180 in a slicked road rain. I still remember that. Thank you for caring and nourishing me when I was sick as a child and even now sometimes as an adult. Thank you for your wit and laughter that makes my side hurt. Thank you for holding my newborn daughter and recognizing the next generation of ourselves. Thank you for being a cheerleader, a coach, a trainer, and a fan all at the same time. Thank you for all that you do. It didn't go unnoticed. I love you, Mom. And now I wanted to, there's just one other sentence I put in there to flow into the poem I wanted to speak about. It says, so when I watch my mom hold my newborn daughter, who is now 18, I realize I've come full circle. I am now the mom taking on what I know to pass on to my daughter. So I wanted to finish with a poem by Carl Jung. And I think it's an unusual poem, so you have to kind of think about it once you hear it. Every mother contains her daughter in herself, and every daughter her mother, and every mother extends backwards into her mother and forwards into her daughter. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina, Aiden, and Monique. So I'm going to move us back to our flowers now that we have, and just lead us in a meditation, a short prayer. And you'll notice that there are stools at the end of the pews here with water in them. And after we do a meditation and a blessing, I'm going to ask you to stand up and just put your flower in the water as part of this ceremony and as part of this ritual of honoring all women, by honoring the feminine aspect of God, by honoring